to the Sunday law is the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness of ancient Israel. You can put the 40 years in here. The number 40 is what allows you to place it in here. Okay? Once you have that number 40 in there, then you can have the first 40 years of Moses' life in here. You can put the second 40 years of Moses' life. You can put the 40 years of Isaac's life in here. You can put the 40 days of Christ being tempted in the wilderness in here, from 9/11 to the Sunday law. You can do many things once you have this pattern of Ezra 7:9 and Matthew 25 in place. And one of them is you can take the 40s in the scriptures and mark them from 9/11 to the Sunday law, and it produces all kinds of light. All right, but what I want you to see, and I'm not going to read it to you, is from verse 4 to verse 16 in Ezekiel 29, it says that 3 times it says that the United States, that Egypt is going to be made desolate in this history, this 40-year history. Okay? What's it mean to be made desolate? Devastated. Okay, we haven't got time to go there, but notice, just so you know that I'm not making this up, notice in verse 11, no foot of man shall pass through it, nor foot of beast shall pass through it, neither shall it be inhabited 40 years. And I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities among the cities that are laid waste shall be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and will disperse them through the countries. Yet thus saith the Lord, at the end of 40 years will I gather the Egyptians from the people whither they are scattered. And now, if you think it's kind of a stretch that I'm saying here that Egypt is representing the United States, Miller has a statement in his rules where he says, and I don't know it word for word, but I know it, paraphrasing. If a simple understanding fits, then use it. All right, now notice this next verse. Verse 14. And I will bring again, and in the scriptures, when you read bring again in the Hebrew, it doesn't mean bring again like we understand it in the English. You go into the Hebrew, the word that is translated as bring again in the Hebrew is reverse. And it makes all the difference in the world. It's totally different than English. It says, I will bring again the captivity, means like, it sounds in English like they're going to put you again into captivity, but it means I will reverse their captivity. It means the captivity is ending. So you got to note this word bring again in the Hebrew. And in verse 14 it says, and I will bring again the captivity of Egypt, and will cause them to return to the land of Pathros, into the land of their habitation, and they shall be there a base kingdom. What's a base kingdom? Poor, lowest of low. Now notice in the next verse, and it shall be the basest of the kingdoms, neither shall it exalt itself any more above the nations. What nation exalts itself above all the nations of the world here at the end of the world? This is a pronouncement against the United States. Okay, and it's not going to be inhabited for 40 years. We won't go into that, but the 40 years has to do with public evangelism. It's saying that there is going to be no public evangelism taking place in here. There's a special work going on for Seventh-day Adventists during this time period, during the time period that the United States is going to be laid low by an escalating crisis that is produced by the east wind of Islam. Okay, page 4.